James Pankiewicz in Naha, Okinawa. Thanks so much for joining, James.
Good morning, JJ. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
That's so great. I've been looking at all of the great work that you're doing. You're not only teaching karate, but you're also running a bar. You're also doing tourism events out in the beautiful Okinawa area. So many things I want to talk about today. So thank you so much for sharing your time and insights.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Yeah, I'm very lucky to be here in Okinawa. And
I'm so jealous. How's the weather today?
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We're kind of nervously awaiting rainy season, right? Should arrive soon, but even then, it's still good. It's still good.
So tell me about what's the name? Asato Dojo?
Yes. So I'm here in the Asato Dojo. This is my karate dojo. It's in the center of Naha, capital city of Okinawa. And yeah, the dojo's been running for about 3.5 years. Yeah, it's kind of, a dojo is kind of a labor of love. It's great to have. It's something I always dreamed about having, and it's kind of the center of a lot of basically everything that we do, which is kind of all karate related.
Yeah, and you started about 10 years ago, is that right?
I've been living in Okinawa for about 11 years, and in terms of training karate, though, I've been doing it for about 30 years. So yeah, it's kind of been a lifelong path. But my time in Okinawa has been yeah, fantastic. So I've been very happy, very lucky to be here for, like I say, just over a decade.
I was listening to an interview and it sounded like you started your experience in Japan at London when you were studying Japanese and then came to Hokkaido and then Osaka. So you haven't only been in Okinawa, you've actually been around Japan quite a lot. Is that right?
Yeah. I kind of worked my way down from northern Japan right down to the south over the years. I was as a teenager, I was kind of captivated by martial arts and the Orient. I'm really interested in Japan and China, and I decided that the best way to go and experience that would be to study Japanese at university. So became a student in the School of Oriental and African Studies. And that got me out to Hokkaido first as an exchange student. I had a fantastic half a year in Hokkaido. And then a couple of years after that, I went to Osaka, and I ended up spending 2 years in Osaka, 1 year at Kansai University, and then another year. I just decided to stay. This was my first karate black belt. So I stayed and I got my first black belt in karate there in a style called Wado Ryu karate. And then back to London for a few years. I'd met a girl from Okinawa along the way, and we got married. And so I started to come to Okinawa every year. And eventually we decided that the smart thing to do would be to live here. So that's what we did.
That's wonderful. And anybody who has seen Karate Kid, as I should say in American, knows how famous Okinawa is. Was it Karate Kid 3 that they ended up going to Okinawa? And I've seen some of the photos, and it looks like where you do some of your seminars and training is at a castle or a castle ruins, which I believe was in the film. Is that right?
Yeah. The Karate Kid was an amazing way for people to find out about Okinawa. I think it still remains, I think, one of the best adverts. But yeah, we go to locations, castle sites, beach sites. There are some beautiful locations in Okinawa, and it's really nice to get outdoors and train. It's actually kind of even more fun than doing it in the dojo here. So any opportunity we get, we'll go outdoors, and often we do events. Over the years, we've brought some big groups in, and we take them to do special training events in these locations. Okinawa has a lot of castle sites, has a lot of really interesting historical sites. So yeah, we love to go to these places.
That's great. I can't wait to come back to Okinawa. I've only been once or twice over the years. Okay. I haven't been to the main island, Naha. We went to Miyakojima last time, which isn't on the island that you're on. But I really love all the work that you're doing, collaborating with so many local dojos and local teachers. Can you introduce some of them that you work with?
Yeah, sure. My main teacher here is called Arakaki Toshimitsu Sensei, and uh, that's Arakaki Sensei right there. There you go. Thank you. Arakaki Sensei was one of the first Okinawan teachers that I met when I came to Okinawa, and I immediately, when I met him, I respected him, and I thought, what a great gentleman, and yeah, he became my teacher. But on Okinawa, there are many great teachers, really wonderful people, and over the years, I've made a point of trying to meet as many as I can. So there's a real community here. So I'm lucky in that I get to be able to go and visit different teachers and spend time with them. And sometimes, it's actually practicing karate with them, and sometimes it's just learning from them, learning from their life stories, learning from their experience. So yeah, it's pretty special opportunity that I have here in that regard.
And that's connected, is it not, to your latest venture, Boujee TV? Boujee TV.
Yeah.
You're introducing some of the local masters online as well. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So Boujee TV is an online streaming platform for martial arts content. Uh, Very similar to kind of Netflix in the way it looks and the way it works. But all of our content is coming from teachers, essentially. Um, and a lot of Over the years, we've done a lot of documentaries, seminars, other events, and teaching events with these teachers. And a lot of that video now is on Dojo TV. Um, and also we've also have a lot of content from other instructors and documentary makers around the world as well. So yeah, we're hoping that Boujee TV kind of has something for everybody, either people that want to learn karate online, or people that are interested in learning about the culture that's around karate, or the Okinawan culture, for example, or the wider martial arts culture around the world as well.
Yeah, one of the things I heard in an interview you did, I think 2 years ago, was you were talking about taking people on a 12-day journey and spending 3 days with three different senseis in three different dojos and having some travel inside as well. And I was thinking, this would be great to do as well online. Like, have you tried anything like that? I mean, that
Well,
sounds like a great adventure.
yeah. Well, that's the sort of thing that we're thinking about doing this year with, of course, Corona, all the challenges ongoing with Corona. Everything is going online. We've been doing a lot online for the past year, but yeah, that event was very popular. We took a small group, as you say, around to visit four different dojos around the island. Literally went to the north, south, east, and west, and spending 3 days intensively with a teacher there, uh, learning martial arts from them, but also spending time, having dinner with them, and learning, all about their history and their sort of wisdom, really. Yeah, it was fantastic. And what we got to do was to go and stay in different locations around the island, and also do other fun things too. Like one day we went out kayaking, river kayaking. We did some different cultural activities. So yeah. This year, I'd love to have people come to Okinawa and we can do the same thing, but we might have to take the whole thing online instead. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's maybe in the pipeline.
And it's not just, I know that you accompany the people, and you were talking about this in the interview. And I know this as a longtime resident in Hiroshima as well. It's not just a translator that you need. You need someone who knows the local area, knows the local teachers, and can help the visitor engage more. So that is a special skill of being a guide to international visitors for sure. And it's not just linguistic, it's allowing the visitor and the local to really engage like on a meaningful real level. And that takes someone who's there and understands both what you're talking about as well as understands the local people. So I think that's a real value point in terms of what you can do?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think you and I have had some very, very similar experiences, I suspect, as foreigners who come to Japan and found our way, through the culture here. And there's kind of the concept in Japanese of sensei, right, which is someone that is ahead of you on the path, so you can share and benefit from their experience. And so, like you say, in the context of kind of bringing guests and new people in to discover the culture that you've already discovered to some extent, and you become the sensei, and that you sort of you can guide them down through that path and that experience. And it, like you say, it's a lot more than just sort of translating the words. It's also being able to understand the context and the culture and help them to connect with what they're seeing, what they're hearing as well. So yeah, I mean, it's great. I love it because in a way you get to relive and sort of enjoy again that experience of discovery and learning. And one of the things that attracts me about martial arts practice is that it's a never-ending study. The idea is that there is a path, and it goes on, infinitely. That's I think what keeps us engaged and keeps us excited about what we're doing.
Yeah, excellent. Let's talk about one of your recent projects that you did, 100 kata for Kobudo Day challenge. What was that about?
So the 100 kata challenges. So a kata is a form. It's a collection of moves that have been put together in a set sequence, and it's a way to practice martial arts. Kata is very prevalent in Japanese martial arts and Chinese martial arts. So think of it as sort of a short choreographed piece that you do. And the idea with 100 kata is that you repeat that 100 times. So it's sort of a physical challenge, almost like a little sort of marathon, a karate marathon. But also it's a way to connect with the history as well, because kata is something that is passed down from generation to generation in the transmission of martial arts. In Okinawa, on October the 25th every year, we have Karate Day, which is a day to celebrate the fact that karate originates from Okinawa, and we have all of this great culture and heritage. My idea was to find a way to extend participation in Karate Day wider than Okinawa, so to try and spread it around the world. And the 100 kata event was conceived for that purpose. So basically, same day and hopefully same time, people around the world all engage in the same challenge, 100 kata challenge, and then we share that online. And we started this a few years ago. It's a free participation event, and it's become more and more popular. And the 100 Kobudo kata. Kobudo is weapons practice. So you can see on on this side, you can see some weapons on the wall here. So when we talk about karate in Okinawa, we also usually mean training weapons as well, such as the staff, sai, the kind of weapons that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles use, basically. So Kobudo is practicing weapons. So we also have a 100 Kobudo Kata Day where we just focus on doing forms for Kobudo. So yeah, these events are a great way for people to connect with Okinawa and with the community around the world, which has the same passion for martial arts practice.
Ah, awesome. I'm showing on screen some of the local senseis that you work with and their kobudo. Is that right? Their
That's right,
weapons
Kobudo, yeah.
that they've got. Hi, Mel. Mel says hi from Sydney. Thanks for joining.
Hey, hi.
Yeah. Do you have any people that you work with in Sydney or in Australia?
Lots, yeah. There are lots of karateka friends in Australia. In fact, usually, outside of these Corona times, we would have lots of regular visitors from Australia to Okinawa. People that would come every year. So it's almost like an extended family. It's really nice. I was hoping to go down and visit Australia some point soon, but maybe next year.
Now, you did another interesting international challenge with kids, like a kids kata challenge, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. We did an online competition for the kids. Yeah, a kata competition. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of fun. The kids we've been lucky here in that we've been able to keep our dojo actually open for most of the pandemic, but a lot of dojos around the world have been closed for a long time, and that's been really hard for the kids who, we look forward to going to the dojo and doing their practice there. So we created the online competition as a way for them to participate and to have something, a goal to work towards, motivation for their practice. Yeah, it was really well received. We had participants from Europe, America, from Australia too. And yeah, it was just great fun. It's great to see the kids work hard and do their kata. And it's nice to be able to give them a little reward. We send them certificates and rewards. So yeah, well done to everybody that took part.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the international connections, because you often invite international senseis to come and teach, or now that everything's moved online, you're incorporating some online sessions as well. I'm showing right now a Zoom session you did with a group in Ireland. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can see that one. That's right. Yeah. This was. We've done a lot of online sessions recently. Actually, this was one that we did not too long ago, where we're again looking at Boujee, looking at using the staff. Yeah, we've had really good participation. We'll get 50 to 100, 150
Wow,
people
great.
participating. I think the biggest one we had so far was maybe 300 to 400 people. Yeah, it's something that it helps us obviously to keep the dojo going, because people often will, very kindly support us financially for doing this. It helps us also to keep the Okinawan senseis engaged with their students overseas. It's
Do you have an elephant in your dojo?
sorry, it was just a door open there.
That's fine. That's fine.
Apologies.
That's
Yes.
the one of the wonderful things about live streaming, right? So if someone is interested in your Zoom sessions, where's the best way for them to get the information? Is that on your website or Facebook page?
Yeah, usually it's on our Facebook page. So on Asato Dojo Facebook page or Dojo Okinawa Facebook page are the two places where we post it first. And then also on the Asato Dojo .okinawa website, we will sometimes post a schedule there as well. But usually our Facebook is our most active space.
Great. You also do like fitness classes as well. It's not just karate that you're doing. You're also doing yoga or different kinds of, is it the bell weights that I saw doing a bell weight class? So having that diversity, has that helped with different revenue streams, helped with a bit more support for the dojo?
Yeah, it has. We have different groups that come in and use the dojo. We offer fitness classes, one-to-one training, but also, like, for example, we have a yoga class in here this morning coming in. So it's nice that the dojo becomes a space for other activities. People that have an interest in wellness and generally keeping themselves healthy, are going to be interested not just in, for example, martial arts training, but also strength training, flexibility training, and general well-being. The dojo is a space for a lot more than just karate training.
I think that's so important, to have like an active network of a variety of people that you collaborate with on the local and international level, and then offering kids classes, adult classes, fitness classes. This is something that it can all incorporate and kind of introduce to a new audience as well. Like karate is not just one tiny specific vein, but you can do kind of a general knowledge thing and maybe introduce more people to karate and to the concepts and philosophy that way. Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Karate is a lot more than just studying fighting. And in fact, Okinawan karate is very much regarded as a lifelong study. So it's a way to develop yourself to become a better person. You do that through strengthening your body, but also strengthening your confidence, strengthening your mind, and also learning to become more empathetic, learning to be more aware of yourself, to be more aware of your ego, for example. Um, and I think to seek more balance. So I think though people that are looking for more than just a physical workout find that with traditional karate practice. Of course, it is also a very effective martial art too if you decide to pursue it that way. I mean, my personal journey was that when I was younger, I just wanted to learn how to defend myself, um, and I just wanted a very very practical martial art. But over the years, I've come to appreciate many, many more aspects of and benefits that come from martial arts practice. Then once I came to Okinawa, and I began to, understand the actual context, the cultural, historical, even geographical context of karate and where it comes from, then it became even more rich. So yeah, the karate is kind of a key that unlocks a lot more than just, for example, learning how to be good at physical self-defense.
Yeah, for sure. It helps you build confidence. It helps you feel like you could defend yourself. So, in terms of kids feeling bullied at school
Yeah,
or even adults feeling less than confident, I notice it when I see people who are doing martial arts and they're walking around or doing presentations. There's some kind of inner strength to people that practice the martial arts, I find. We
yeah.
talked to some teachers who are teaching Aikido in Hiroshima.
Yeah.
My kids studied with Brad Weston in Hiroshima. Maybe you
I
know
know
him.
Brad. Yeah, I know Brad. Yeah,
And it was great for my kids. It's great for international students in Japan.
yeah,
It's a great bridge for anyone coming to Japan and feeling disconnected as well.
very much so. Yeah, absolutely. Karate for me has been a way to connect with the local community. Um, it's been a way to get a deeper understanding of Japanese and Okinawan culture. Um, and like you say, it does help you to keep things in context. So if it's there's a lot of visualization that goes on in karate training in terms of although you're usually training in a
Are we
friendly and
are you there?
safe environment.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Back?
Safe. Are we okay?
I think we're back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, like I say, although karate is kind of paradoxical because when you go into a dojo, you hope to train in a fairly safe and friendly environment, but what you're doing is you're training something that is supposed to help you deal with the very difficult times in life, dangerous situations. And so it's sort of karate is almost like a metaphor for life, right? You kind of face difficult, challenging situations, and you're taught strategies, and you're given a way to experience a process of dealing with difficult situations. And I think that helps to therefore put the rest of your life in context. A lot of what we deal with in life is not as bad as it might seem at the time. Um, you know, um, it, it might be stressful, but if you can take a step back from it, then it's actually not something that needs to be something in which you feel out of control with, or um, is truly something that you should worry about. And I think the ability to sort of control your mental state and to be able to take a step back and put things in context is a very, very important life skill. I certainly found that it's benefited me a lot.
That's awesome. We have a comment from Salvatore. Greetings from Karateka from Germany. I train in Oshiro Dojo near Frankfurt and Maine, and I love it. Wonderful. Thanks for joining.
Good to see.
Speaking of more international collaborations, was it Mackenzie that you did a big session with? Patrick McCarthy, sorry.
Patrick McCarthy, yeah. Yeah, Patrick McCarthy is one of the leading international teachers for traditional martial arts alive today. He's a prolific author and an amazing teacher. I'm very fortunate that he actually moved to Okinawa recently. He now lives here. And So yeah, we've done some collaboration recently. We're going to do a lot more. This kind of takes me back to that real core concept of sensei. You know, someone who's ahead of ahead of you on the path, and you can really benefit from everything they've learned as you know in along that way. And yeah, I'm learning a huge amount from Patrick Sensei, and yeah, he's an amazing teacher.
That's wonderful. Can you take us on a bit of a virtual travel on some of your karate history tours? Where do you take people when you take
Sure,
people on
sure.
those tours?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that karate people are very interested in is sort of the roots and the origins of the art that they study, and there's lots of that still dotted around Okinawa. There are two karate museums in Okinawa, so that we always take people there. That's a great place to start. But then there are lots of sites where, for example, tombs and monuments to famous karate teachers here, locations where karate was taught or events happened, for example. Um, Often there are stories which go along with the tales of the old karate masters, and we will take them to see these locations too. Very often they're connected to the old royal court, the Ryukyu kings and the monarchy. So Shuri Castle, for example, is a site that we visit very often and provide and give people guided tours around. But yeah, Okinawa is just absolutely full of historical sites. It One of the things I've noticed over the past 10 years is that tourism in Okinawa has really grown. A lot of it is Asian tourism, um, and a lot of so people coming from other wonderful Asian destinations, equally great beaches and things like that, but they're coming here for the culture and the history, and so yeah, it's there's lots of places to go and see. When we list it all out, we come up with over 100 different locations where we'll take people around.
Yeah. We have a great question from Mel. Thank you, Mel. And this brings up a point I wanted to talk about later as well. Do you have a coordination with other styles of martial arts? I noticed that you had karate and sumo as one of your themes. That was so interesting.
Yeah, yeah, we do. I love to um, kind of cross train and learn from different arts. We often have other guest teachers come in and teach here. And yeah, and over the years, I've also taken part in other martial arts like this one. This is Okinawa Sumo, local wrestling tradition. Um, you know, Martial arts practice is universal. We kind of artificially split it into different schools and styles, but really we're all kind of aiming for the same goal. We all have the same objective, and pretty much very similar ways of getting there too. So cross training across different styles is always hugely rewarding, and also keeps it really fresh and challenging as well. If you're always doing exactly the same thing, that can become quite stale. So it's always nice to collaborate and sort of compare. And I've been able to do that over the years with other teachers and schools here in Okinawa, but also with other locations too, like mainland Japan, Taiwan, for example, and then other countries further afield as well.
Yeah, wonderful. We have a question from or a comment from Vera. She says, "Great talk. I was doing Shodinji
Yeah.
before the pandemic hit, and I can't wait to go back to our dojo in Higashi, Hiroshima." So I think a lot of people have had to stop, including at your dojo during the pandemic. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, it's been tricky. We last year we had 2 months when we closed the dojo. We went online completely. Fortunately, we've been able to keep going other than that, but it's tricky. Right now, we're considering whether we should, again, with the uptick in infections here, whether we should close the dojo for a little while too to be on the safe side. I think that the great thing about martial arts practice is that you you know you don't have to go to a dojo to do it. You can literally practice at home or wherever you are. It's something that you can own, and so personally, and for my students and for the other people that I connect with all the time, I'd like to always encourage people to use their martial arts practice as something that gives benefit to them, something that is theirs. You know, it can't be taken away from them, even if they can't go out from the house. It's still a great way to sort of work the mind, work the body, and benefit the mind as well. Um, JJ, we're gonna just start a class here, as you can see. I just wanted to
Okay.
give you a
Yeah.
shot of the video, a shot of the dojo here, but I'm gonna just spin my camera around now.
Okay.
So while I do that, maybe if you want to just show something else on screen for a
Sure.
second,
Sure.
just give me
Yep.
a few seconds, and I'll be
Yeah.
right back.
No
Yeah,
worries.
cool.
So I'm showing some pictures from the Facebook page where they work with a lot of the local senseis, the local masters of karate and different martial arts. And I want James to talk about Gaja Takehiro Sensei, who looks like an amazing teacher and local martial arts specialist. Look at him here in the picture, how he's holding these. Are they heavy bells, James? I want to ask you about this.
Yes, here we go. I'm back in the room. I should be good to
Okay.
go. There we go. Yeah. Let me just adjust it a little bit here.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
there we go. Yeah, so actually you get to enjoy the shodo here on the wall behind me. um, yeah. So you're looking at Gaja Takehiro Sensei. Gaja Sensei is amazing. He practices a style called Uechi-ryu, which has a reputation of being one of the toughest, strongest styles of karate on Okinawa, and he is close to 80 years old. And just in amazing shape. But he also has the best sense of humor. He smiles and he laughs all the time, but he could literally punch a hole through you if he wanted to. But he's just such a nice man, you know. And that's the thing. So many Okinawan senseis are like that. You know, they're incredibly physically impressive, but they are such wonderfully kind and gentle people. Gaja Sensei, we've done some seminars together. Actually, we did a lovely event where he was one of the teachers for the 12-day intensive course that we did, where we took 3 days at each location. And the students that I took to train with him, they just loved him. He had a wonderful time. And physically very demanding training, but you're just smiling all the time because he's smiling all the time, right? So it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's not really your typical, or what I imagine your typical karate sensei would be, smiling. I remember we studied for a very short time
Yeah,
karate in Oita, and the teacher was so strict.
yeah.
And even when, we were in pain, they would say, just fight through it, in that gaman spirit. I can't imagine a teacher smiling.
Well, this is the interesting thing is that, of course, there's a very strong macho culture that's associated with karate, and a very strong kind of the more it hurts, the better. The more that you are being honed into a a tougher individual, into a weapon type thing. But also, there's a lot of times when if I'm being very honest, there's a lot of times when bravado or just this need to project this sense of being very tough and strong is used to try and, let's say, fill in some of the gaps. So, you know, I think the hardest thing to do is to stand in front of people and teach something like karate, but also be human as well, right? Also be able to connect, but also to sort of not to have to worry about being, perfect, the perfect teacher, or this image of being super tough, like the toughest guy in the room, right? People often want that. They expect it from a martial arts teacher. But actually, the martial arts teachers I respect the most are the ones who are confident enough in themselves to be themselves and not to have to be, the super tough bad guy at the front of the dojo. So there lots of people have different ideas about how you should teach karate and the image that you should project around karate. Some people will not agree with my views on it, but like I say, I've been training for 30 years or more. The teachers that I remember, the ones that I respect the most, are the ones who were, like I say, were confident enough in themselves and their ability and their knowledge to just be very human with people and to have a laugh as well. There are times when you can train very, very hard, but still be enjoying your time with people as well.
Yeah, wonderful. I love that. Let's talk a little bit about beach training, just to switch
Mm,
gears a little bit. You try different kinds of activities to bring people in.
yeah.
One of the events it looks like you do, maybe not right now during coronavirus, but maybe hopefully you can bring back sometime because you're outdoors and you can social distance, is this beach training and barbecue party.
Yeah, I was actually at the beach yesterday training. I love to go to the beach and train. Right now, yeah, we're not doing the barbecue parties. You know, common sense, of course, prevails. But yeah, there's nothing better than going down to the beach, training, going for a swim, and enjoying a barbecue afterwards. It's absolutely amazing day. We've done it lots of times, and I'm looking forward to us being able to do that again. At some point soon. If anybody's ever coming down to Okinawa and they want to go to the beach and do some training, just call me up because I'm always up for that. In fact, we'll be there tomorrow, so it's great.
Yeah, I love that. I grew up in Hawaii, so uh,
Right.
going out into the beach areas, going out into the forest, that's the reason to be there. And I imagine Okinawa is very much the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the West Country in England, which is not a bad place. It's a very pretty place, but and we got beaches there too, and they're very nice. But the beaches in Okinawa are just awesome. And pretty much year round, you can just stroll into the sea and swim, and it's fantastic. So I want to make the most of that whenever I can.
Yeah, that's great. I love that island culture too. I grew up in Hawaii, so when I visited Okinawa, I was so happy to see Foremost ice cream, andagi, which
Yeah,
I love. Andagi is a Okinawan donut. It's like a ball and
yeah,
very dense.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah,
Any
I almost reached for the andagi here, and often I'll have some on my desk.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
gosh, they're
the
so
perfect
good.
place.
And then Okinawa is also famous for the black sugar or the really dark sugar, right?
Yeah, the kurosato. Yeah, yeah, yes. The cane sugar is famous product of Okinawa. Actually, my wife's business is a sweet making store. So it's traditional sweet makers, and actually, what I over the years, I've helped out in store, and a lot of that is using sugar to make these wonderful traditional sweets, which are served with tea, with green tea. So yeah, there's some lovely. The food here is fantastic, and some really interesting, unique cuisine here as well. So the champuru. I guess you might probably heard of champuru, right? The champuru food, basically mixing everything up together to get something even better. So
Yeah. Definitely worth visiting Okinawa just to enjoy the food and the beaches.
yeah,
Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to hear about this 113-kilometer charity walk that you did.
yeah. So this was to retrace the path of the the people that had to escape Naha during the Battle of Okinawa back in the Second World War. So the April the 1st, 1945, Okinawa was attacked by the Allied forces, and the Okinawans find themselves in the midst of an awful, awful battle between Japanese forces and American forces. And many of the civilians, particularly here in Naha, they had to flee or die, and they walked. They walked north, and yeah, essentially from one end of Okinawa to another is 113, 120 kilometers. So my family actually has living relatives who experienced that. In fact, I have a great aunt who was 14 at the time, and she took her five brothers and sisters, and they escaped and they walked all the way to the north of the island. And I think that it's really important that we don't forget that these very tragic periods in history were not that long ago. This was within living memory, and so we decided to do the walk as a way to better understand that. And we set out very, very early in the morning, and we walked for the best part of 3 days. Camped along the way, and yeah, it was a really, really important experience. Many young people in Okinawa today, of course, although they hear about the history, over time, I think the impact of that lessens, of course. And so the idea of the walk was to try to recreate, some of that journey and some of the hardship. Of course, it was nothing like, what it was for them. They lost everything. Everything was destroyed. When they came back, they not only walked up the island, but they had to walk back down again. And in fact, often came back to what was still a battlefield and then had to escape again. So, yeah, the charity walk was our way to sort of reconnect with that.
That's awesome. And you said it was a fundraiser. The
Yeah,
money went to orphans. Is that right?
yeah. My good friend Paul, who is a Scottish guy who has actually been here in Okinawa even longer than me. He's a school teacher, and he has over the years has supported this charity, which effectively collects funds for the education of orphans. And yeah, we were able to make a donation there, so that was really, really nice thing to do.
That's awesome. Let's switch gears again and talk about another of the local senseis that you work with. Let me see. I have so many wonderful, amazing ones. Okama Sensei that
Yes,
you're
yeah.
including in the Boujee TV interviews.
That's right. Okama Sensei is an amazing individual. He runs one of the karate museums on the island. In fact, he founded the original karate museum. He's in his mid 70s now. Has been training in karate and Kobudo literally his whole life. He was born into an aristocratic family here and learned martial arts initially from his grandfather, who was a samurai here, a bushi, and so he is also he was a school teacher, now retired. He's a historian. He is again, he's always good humored, smiling, but if he gets hold of you, it can be absolute agony. He is so skilled at um, martial arts, but so humble at the same time. So yeah, just an amazing individual. He is among Okinawan teachers, I think, quite an exceptional individual in terms of the level of his personal ability and skill, but also his knowledge and his research into Okinawan history and martial arts history here.
Oh, awesome. What a special experience for people online as well as people visiting to be able to connect to such legends of martial arts in Okinawa through your services. That's amazing.
Well, I followed a path here originally where I arrived in Okinawa and I didn't know anybody and I didn't really know anything. I mean, I came to Okinawa because I was fortunate enough to have found, you know, my wife who's from Okinawa. But before that, I didn't really know much about Okinawa, if I'm honest. I mean, I was interested in martial arts, but I hadn't made the connection. When I came here, I started in this path of discovering the place. And I'm sure that you also feel this as someone who's spent a lot of time in Japan. There's a great sense of, I think, accumulated gratitude. People are so kind to you. They're so hospitable when you come to Japan, that I almost feel like, and there's no way that you can individually repay everybody the kindness that they show you um, on your path. But what you can do is repay that in kind. I think generally by trying to assist others in the same way. Um, so that's my feeling about it, is that, I love to share what I've enjoyed and experienced here, and also share the great friendships that I've made here, the people that I've met. Um, and that's essentially that's at the core of of most of what I do. Um, and yeah, a lot of that's happening online now, of course, because of it's difficult to come to Okinawa. But I'm really looking forward to hopefully end of this year, early next year, when hopefully the gates are opened and people can come back again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We have Pablo from LA joining and Louise Puppy from New Zealand. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Having a great talk from Okinawa, talking about martial arts and karate today.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another of the local legends that you work with, Minoru Higa.
Yes. So Higa Sensei is he's kind of one of the most famous Okinawan teachers alive today. He's a very strong individual. He was a power lifter as well as a lifelong karate student. And he comes from a family of karateka, so it's in their DNA. But again, he's a lovely, lovely gentleman, kindest person you'll ever meet. But he could literally punch through a wall. He's in his late 70s now, I think, and he's a great ambassador for karate. His way of teaching is to exhaust you physically, so that you get past kind of trying to be strong and trying to show off, all your physical power. He exhausts all that, where spends most of the class just completely fatiguing you, and then you start to learn. Because once you're able to drop all the physical power, which gets in the way of learning, then you're ready to learn technique, which is, I think, a really, really interesting approach to it.
That's awesome. I love this quote that you shared on the Facebook page that he says, karate is not for a rank, glory, or for revenge. It is a way of life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, great wisdom from him there. You talked about island life before. When I think people that live in an island community, they're very aware of the need to get along with everybody else. It's not like everybody's perfect, and you won't have some disagreements with people from time to time. But um, you know, it's like being in the same boat, right? When you're an island, right? You have to find a way to work together, or everybody's going to suffer. And I was told that there's a saying in Okinawa, which is that if you kill somebody, you should dig two graves, because it's going to come back on you, right? And so this idea that in Okinawa is that karate should not be about you know hurting other people. It should be about protecting society, protecting the peace, keeping the peace in society. And that's very much an ethos which pervades Okinawan karate. Now, within that, there are a great range of different personalities and individuals, of course, but the general culture and ethos, which I love very much, is that it's better to extend friendship to everybody, and proceed on that basis. There's a saying in Okinawan language, which is "Ichara bachode," which means once we meet, we are family. And you know, it's not the idea that you should just implicitly trust everybody regardless of, but it's the idea that you give people the opportunity to act like family, to become friends. I think,
And
yeah,
having meaningful connections. That's really powerful. Not only understanding how to live your life, but how to improve the lives of others around you.
yeah, I think again, it's an interesting paradox. I mean, people look at karate training as something that fosters perhaps the more violent or competitive tendencies in people, but actually, it it's the opposite. Sustained martial arts training tends to make people more empathetic. Tends to make them be able to put themselves into other people's shoes, and to understand perhaps the, the difficulty, the pain, or the hardship that other people experience too. Um, it tends to be an ego suppressant, right? Which ego tends to be the thing that gets in the way of us having good relationships with other people around us. Yeah, and also having happiness, accepting happiness as well. Um, so for all those reasons, karate practice, I think, is, for me certainly, it's a very, very rewarding thing to do.
Wonderful. Can you tell us about Mineo Toguchi Sensei?
Yeah, sure. Um, Mineo Sensei is yeah, he's a guest teacher instructor at my dojo. He comes and teaches once a week. He is a full contact karate champion multiple times in Okinawa. He is a beast of a man. He's bigger than me. He's an Okinawan. He's bigger than me, right? Which is makes him exceptionally a bit of a giant when it comes to Okinawan terms. But again, he's a lovely, lovely fella. He um, what were we doing the other day? He runs a little restaurant, and his karate training. But his karate training is something that he's done since he was a child. His sister also is exceptionally good at karate. In fact, she's probably even more skillful than he is. Um, and But he's also a musician. So the other day he was playing the sanchin, and often we've done karate events in the past. I mean, his karate demonstration is awesome. I mean, particularly he's good at breaking things, like baseball bats and great big thick planks of wood and things like that, right, with his bare hands. But actually, in some ways more impressive is when he pulls out the sanshin and starts playing away the background to everybody else in the demonstration. That's really cool. You get the real kind of traditional atmosphere then.
Wow, that's awesome. So, do you find quite useful to have a bar as well as a dojo so that you can have off time after practice to let loose and play music and connect on a more personal level?
Yeah, the Dojo Bar opened in 2011. Um, right now, I have to say it's closed because of the whole Corona situation. But we ran for 9 years, and the Dojo Bar was a meeting place. It was a place where you knew that you would meet other people of a like mind and with similar interests. It was a karate themed bar and but an international bar. So actually, surprisingly, in Naha, although it's quite a big tourist destination, there are not that many international bars. So the Dojo Bar became a place where a lot of people would come and they would find, they have a beer and a pizza, but also they'd find a lot of local information from myself and from my staff and from the other people there. So it really was a sort of a touch point for everybody. And a lot of people were very sad when I had to close the doors around this time last year. However, um, people love the dojo bar so much that as soon as conditions look favorable, I will be looking to open it again. So, um, yeah, it's a really how can I say, really fun place, and it was something that hopefully we can bring back again when everybody else can come back here.
Oh, good. It's really hard. Are you having spike in cases in Okinawa?
Yeah, right now we are. Yeah. If I'm honest, I think we're going now into probably the most difficult time. Um, I'm hoping that we'll get through this, or I'm hoping that vaccinations will get rolled out here fairly soon. I'm guessing you're probably all hearing, or also hearing that vaccinations start to roll out where you are too. Um, Hopefully that can come as fast as possible. But yeah, the next few months I think will be pretty tough in terms of infections. We will, of course, keep doing a lot more online as we've been doing, and you make the best of it, right? But yeah, I think everybody should be careful now. This is probably, I think, the most dangerous time that we've had so far, actually.
Yeah, it's good not to rush back into normalcy before we're really ready, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course we're desperate to be able to do so, right? I mean, it seems so unfair that things have been disrupted for so long, right? Why can't we just be back to normal? But I think we just need to hold out a little longer, just a few more months till we're
Just a little longer, so maybe
yeah,
next year. But until then, let's talk again about the Boujee TV.
yeah,
Who
sure.
are the masters that you have in this picture? I see you in there, and I see a female. We haven't talked about any female masters yet.
Yeah, well, her name's Kinjo Mika, and she is actually from the Higa Minoru dojo, the Higa Sensei that we saw earlier. She's holding the sai there, which is one of the traditional weapons. There are lots of awesome female martial artists on Okinawa. What's really interesting is that a lot of them also, because it's part of the tradition, learn Okinawan dance as well. So there are traditional folk dances. It's not just women that do that, men do too, but more women tend to learn that too. But what's really interesting is that Okinawan dance and Okinawan martial arts have this really strong kind of crossover in that when you learn the traditional dance moves, which are very soft and flowing, you're also learning the same moves that you use in Okinawan karate, which is also actually quite soft and flowing. And that's when you see those two things come together, that's just an amazingly beautiful thing to see. Um, and um, and Kinjo-san that you see there is actually from one of those dojos where they have that really, really strong tradition. It's sort of, it's beautiful and graceful and powerful and quite subtle all at once. It's a wonderful thing. There are actually a few very good female instructors on Okinawa too, and I'm hoping that we can bring more of them onto Boujee TV over time because they're just amazingly good at what they do. In the picture there, as myself, next to me is Christian Romanelli, who is my partner in bringing Boujee TV to life. But he's interestingly, he's not in Okinawa. He's actually in South America, and this kind of illustrates how international the kind of karate community or family is. We're very, very interconnected with everybody around the world through this common theme and sort of love for traditional Okinawan martial arts. And it's just an amazing thing. And we talked about the 100 Kata event. That's another way that people connect. The international network is just incredible, really.
And then the other person, so in the middle, punching forward, he's in South America, is it? And then
South America, yeah.
On the other side of you?
Oh, honestly, I can't remember his name right now, which is bad. I'm gonna sound bad, but he actually trains with Christian, so he's one of Christian's.
Yeah, amazing photos. You want to give a shout out to your photographer? I know you collaborate with a lot.
Yeah, indeed. So Chris Wilson, who I recommend to you heartily, you should really have him on your show. So Chris Wilson lives here in Okinawa. He's actually up in the north part in Nago, even more beautiful than down here. Chris is also a fellow Brit, and he is an amazing photographer and videographer. I met him not long after I arrived in Okinawa. There's not many Brits on the island, so we sort of found each other. We discovered we had this shared passion in that he was really interested in great portraiture photography, and I was really interested in meeting all these Okinawan senseis. So we said, okay, let's collaborate, and we'll go and do that. We'll run this project where we go and meet the teachers and photograph them and share that. And this becomes part, hopefully, of kind of the history of Okinawan karate. So we've been doing that for about 10 years now. A lot of that content is, in fact, all of that content is on the web. On Facebook, we have a group called the Karate Masters Portrait Project, where you can see all of the portraits that we've done. We've photographed over 120 teachers in Okinawa now. And then recently, we've been also doing video interviews. So Okama Sensei, as you see there, was one of the first teachers that we interviewed. And those interviews are on Boujee TV and also on YouTube too. And what's great about the interviews is that, you get to learn more than just karate. You get to learn about, the life story of these people, and it's fascinating. A lot of these guys, they were born around the time of the Second World War, or just after the Second World War, and their story is the story of Okinawa, recovering from that tragic period and then blossoming into the island that it is today. And it's a fascinating story.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. We've had so many different topics covered this morning, and great introduction of Okinawa and Okinawan martial arts as such a unique place to visit, but also a great philosophical type of karate and martial art to discover if you're in that area, or even while we are at stay at home, definitely a great resource for people to connect with you, James, and connect to Boujee TV and all the great online content you're putting up. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for, inviting me to take part today. I've enjoyed it very much. Yeah, and if you want to get in touch with me, I'm very, very keen to do so. Please contact me via HAPS or Facebook or email or however you can. And if you're ever coming to Okinawa, then yeah, please get in touch and come and visit the dojo. We are happy for experienced karateka or absolute beginners to come to the dojo anytime and join us in training and enjoying training, and join our events too.
Well, I love everything that you're doing. I love all of your promotion of not only karate, but of the local masters and being the bridge to help people make meaningful connections while they're there and learning karate. So thank you so much, James. You're doing a great job. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, JJ. You too. I've although we've only just met recently, I'm admired all of the work that you've done so far, and like I say, hopefully you'll get to talk to some other really interesting people in Okinawa too.
I hope so. Yeah, we've only touched on travel in Okinawa once, I believe, but definitely want to talk about Okinawa more. There's so much rich history and heritage there
Oh
that
yeah,
it's such a unique place. Wonderful.
yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Well,
well,
thank
thank you
you
again.
so much, James, and thank you everybody for joining today. We had some great comments and questions and some awards. Thank you so much, Louise and Mel. You guys are awesome. Definitely follow James. The best place to find you is maybe Facebook. Is that right, James?
Yeah, Facebook is the easiest way to find me. Just message me, or send me email. That's good too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great day. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock, we're talking with Hiko Simon about the latest news from Japan and how it connects to sustainability. So join us again then. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Take care.